So, you're probably wondering how I got those drums to sound so big. Well, I'm about to show you how simple it can really be. So, we're starting with the kick drum today. You can use any dynamic microphone for this. We're going to use an Ardix D6 today, but you could use a 52A, SM58 or SM57. And we're just going straight through the porthole. We're going to leave the kick drum mic just halfway through. So not touching the skin of the kick drum, just leaving it halfway in. Next we've got the overheads. So we're using an AKG live session microphone for this one. This is a condenser microphone. The aim of this one is to make sure we pick up most of the kit from the front. And so we know that we've done this right, we want to make sure that the microphone is aiming down to the snare drum and covering as much as those toms as possible. The next step is our second overhead. This is a WA Audio 47 Junior, another condenser microphone. We're going to set this in the corner and just away to the side. So as you can see, it's above the cymbals here, and we're going to make sure, like before, we aim for the snare drum as well. So moving on to the most versatile microphone, the SM57. So we're using this on our snare. We're going to angle it towards the centre of the snare drum skin. So as you can see, I'm angling the actual stand itself, making sure that the mic is facing towards the centre. And in terms of height, we just want to make sure the mic is just above the metal rim on the snare. Okay, so here's what we've got. And that's just with 4 mics on there. So we've got your kick, snare, overhead, and the other overhead. The first thing we're going to do, we're going to EQ the kick drum. We're going to take out the frequencies we don't need. I'm going to bring the octave up to 48, and about 35 Hertz is okay. I'm hearing it's quite fuddy. Now, the fundamental frequency of a kick drum is around 50 Hertz, which is where this kick drum is living, around 55 or so. So I'm going to boost it just a little bit, not too much, just a little bit. And then our Q is quite important. We want this to be quite tight. If it's nice and wide like this, we're going to pick up frequencies we don't need. So keep it nice and concise. We want it around 55 Hertz. So a Q of around 2.5 is okay. So the next step, we need to get rid of some more things that aren't needed in the kick drum. Our starting point for this is around 300 Hertz. I'm taking out quite a lot. The Q is a little bit wider, so we're going to be about 0.5 or so, maybe a bit more. But if you were to slide this around, do you hear the fuddiness now? There's a lot of muddy boxiness going on. But as soon as I bring the EQ back to around 300, 400, it goes away. So the aim is around 400 to 300. The best way for this is to mess around with it and try and find that sweet spot where you feel that your kick drum is making that noise. So the next thing with our kick drum, we're going to make sure that we get that clickiness, okay? That nice clickiness to the kick drum that we really need out of it. It's a kicking mic, remember? So the nature of a kicking mic is to have that clicky effect. So we're going to be aiming for around 2K, 3, 4K at the most. Now our Q is going to be relatively tight, just so we're not covering too much. We want to still be around this sector. We don't want to go anywhere near the lower mids down here. We want to be nice and high. So about 3.6 is where I'm hearing a lot of nice clickiness. The next thing, I'm going to find another frequency that's quite similar to the sound I'm looking for. You hear how you're hearing more cymbals coming out? But it's not too much, it's just a good amount. I'm really hearing that click, which is what I need from this kick drum. Okay, so our next step, we're going to EQ the snare drum. So we don't want any kick drum, so we're going to take out around 150 Hz, just to make sure there's absolutely no kick drum coming through here. So because this is a graphic EQ, it's quite useful for us, because we can see here, the snare drum's coming out at around 260, 250 Hz, which is good for a snare drum. That's what we want. I'm going to make my Q relatively tight. So this is where my snare's coming out the most, but I'm not going to boost it too much. I'm going to do about 1.5, it's okay. If you feel as though the snare isn't really that present in the mix, we'll add some presence. About 2K is what you need, not too much. And make the Q very tight as well. Okay, so that's our EQing for snare. Now for this type of drumming, you could use a noise gate. Lots of grace notes, some very low volume hits that are going on the snare drum. Now using a noise gate could get rid of those, so you're hearing less of what's going on. We're going to use one though. So our noise gate's going to go before the EQ. We'll start off with a threshold of around 25. So our hold will bring around 200. Hear those little grace notes in there, those lower volume hits? I want to make sure that those are in this track and that we don't get rid of those. Hear how we're now getting those back? If we push the threshold too far, we start to lose those snare hits that we had before. That could make or break a mix, so it's really important that you make sure your threshold isn't too far, because you could lose those snares and your drummer will not be happy. The next thing is compression. Threshold quite far. Okay. Ratio time is going to be about 4:1 or 3:9. So, our attack time on the compressor, that's telling us how quickly the effect is going to hit. Our release time, that's telling us how long the effect's going to last for. If I bring it to here, you see how it takes a while to go back down to 0? See that? But if I go to, say, 10, look how quickly the meter drops. We don't want that. We want to try and mimic the snare in the way it's being played. Around here is okay. Because we don't want to cut off the transient. Around 50 is a good place to start, I think. We can leave this on auto as well. So, we've done our EQ and compression for the snare. The main part now is adding some effects to our snare. So, I'm going to set up a bus for this. I'm going to go here to this little tab. Bus. Click any number. I'm going to bring it up a little bit. So, like, -12 is fine. We're going to open up a reverb. So this is a free one from Logic. We're going to go to this room part here. And we're going to change this to chamber to start with. Distance to 100. I'm going to do the decay at about 2. Really nice big and open space snare. And then with any effects like this, we're going to take out the lows and take out the highs. Now we've got our kick and snare together. So, onto the overheads. Now because this overhead is picking up the front of the kit, we don't want to take out too much. Don't forget, we've got toms in this microphone. So we're going to take out just past where the kick drums come in, because we don't need the kick drum in this mic. So around there, and we're going to boost these highs because I'm not hearing enough cymbals here. So I'm going to really bring out the cymbals. This is where the cymbals lie in this mix. around 5k. We're going to do a similar thing with this other overhead. So this is the overhead that's behind the kit. And same as before, I'm going to boost the highs.